Welcome, you who are the one we have been waiting for. Welcome to Connect the Dots, a unity organizing tool disguised as a YouTube channel. Today we will learn a basic organizing tool, fundamental in fact. I remind you that the importance of learning how to organize cannot be overstated. Way back in the glorious yonder, the Black Liberation era, with social engineers rebranded as the Civil Rights era, way back in the days of the Black Liberation era, when fighting oppression was fashionable and everybody had an afro, even some white folks, even me. Way back in those days, organizers described themselves by more glamorous names: revolutionary, freedom fighter, urban guerrilla. But scratch the surface of any of them and you found an organizer. Scratch the surface of any people waging resistance against white subjugationism in any of its forms: oppression, racism, exploitation, injustice, and you find an organizer. Hannibal was an organizer. Fannie Lou Hamer was an organizer. Huey P. Newton, the Mama of Kenya, Johnny Cochran, the Moors of Spain, Oprah, the Viet Cong, who first whipped the bejesus out of the French and then whipped the bejesus out of all other armed forces of the USA, the UCA, United Corporations of America. All of them were organizers. Any people resisting oppression are organizers. So this is what we must be. Now, I have been warned against inviting you so openly to organize for unity. I perceive because, like others, we know we have no choice. First, the massive surveillance program uncovered by Snowden and others has not gone away. It continues and has expanded. We know now that social media giants like Facebook, WhatsApp, Google openly abet this surveillance program. We ourselves conspire to spy on ourselves and our community through smart home security systems like Vivint and Ring. We know also that the massive storage facility the government built in Colorado maybe about 10, 12 years ago stores billions upon billions of bits of data it has amassed through its spying, its surveillance program. So much data that it is estimated the government cannot possibly process it for decades. Now, we should not take comfort in that because the government, of course, does prioritize and is processing some data. We know for a fact that organizations like the Pink Panthers, the Quakers, Greenpeace, organizations that are avowedly non-violent, that are composed of mostly old white people, little old white ladies, data about them is being assessed because they dared to say justice. So, that being the case, what do you think is being done with information gathered on us, black people, who declare liberation, black power, justice? So, we proceed because the streets are watching. The beast knows there's no pretending. Every time you scratch your ass, the streets are watching. So, second, we have been warned about consequences and reprisals. Anytime any people dares to liberate themselves, consequence and reprisals are inevitable. They are part of the package. They come with the territory. There's no getting around them. We cannot let fear of consequence or reprisal stop us. Certainly, had our forebears done so, none of us would have any of the rights or privileges or comforts or zuzus and wham-whams that we now enjoy. We owe it to ourselves and to those who come after us to dare and not let fear stop us from doing what is right. Third, the urgency is greater than ever. An analogy is perhaps a report released by the United Nations a few days ago. It declared that we are no longer facing climate change, but rather are now in a climate crisis. The situation is so dire that action has to be accelerated. Otherwise, catastrophe which won't be averted. So, whether or not that's the case, we all must attend to that. In any case, I mean that now as an analogy. That is exactly what's happening racially to us. That the situation that we have experienced, genocide, annihilation, is increased. We will look at information in future videos that will demonstrate this, unfortunately, all too clearly. But this is another reason that we don't have time to be discreet. We must organize and organize like yesterday. And so we begin. Fundamental to organizing successfully is being authentic. That is to say, the heart of our campaign to liberate ourselves is unity. In order to unify others, we must be unified. We must be authentic. We must be the truth we teach. So that means that we must develop ourselves into the most effective instrument possible. So we must attend to our health and to our own cultivation. In later videos, we will look at food, detoxifying, environmental exposures, how to really safeguard ourselves so we could be the giants that we need to be. But one thing that we can do, even while we attend to watching our health and to being involved in unifying efforts by boycotting, civil disobedience, whatever social activism you might involve yourself in. One thing that we can do now, while we do all these other things, is to unify our mind, bodies, and spirits so that the force that we are is concentrated. People talk all the time about unify the mind, body, and spirit. Unify the mind, body, and spirit. But how does one do this? The way is very simple, through the breath. For example, if I gave you $1 million, which I do not have to give, I gladly would if I did. If I gave you a duffel bag with $1 million, you would be ecstatic. You would save the world, buy yourself a new pair of shoes. If I gave that same duffel bag with $1 million to a monkey would wipe his monkey butt with the money if it could open the duffel bag. Or it might build a monkey nest, or whatever monkeys do, I don't know. But it would not make full use of that money because it would not realize its value. This is how we are with the breath. We've heard of chi, ki, prana, long, takuskan, whatever name you want to call it, or it's been called by. This is an enormous, incredible, mystical power we have been endowed with, but like a monkey with $1 million, we don't know. So we don't make proper use of it. So here, very, very briefly, this is what we're going to learn. It is called, in some traditions, Sahaja, natural breathing, but we shall call it the unity breath because this is what it really does. The powers that it cultivates, very, very widespread. We will look at those, talk about those, but just to get to it now. There are 5 stages in this practice. Very powerful exercise. The 5 stages are the nostrils, the back of the throat, down the throat, the chest, and the stomach. Nostrils, back of the throat, down the throat, chest, stomach. We unify mind, body, and spirit through the breath. First, clean your nose. Blow out your nose. If you can do neti, really wonderful. Maybe we'll look at how to do neti in another video. But for now, if you just clean your nose, make sure your nasal passages are clear, that will suffice. Then you exhale forcefully through your nose 3 times. This expels the so-called dead air or dead energy. Of course, it's not literally dead, but this is how we describe it just to convey that you want to empty out what has been used. Then you breathe gently, evenly through the nose to the belly without strain. Of course, make sure that you're sitting as erect as possible. If you have to put your back against a wall or a chair to do so, okay. Later on, we'll talk about how to make your spine strong and why you should do that. But for now, just make sure you're sitting straight as possible. But everything is relaxed. You want to close your eyes when you do this because your purpose is in part to turn your senses inward. This is one of the powers we're cultivating. After your breath is settled, we will do each part of this 3 times, minimum. Eventually, you want to increase the numbers of foci, that's focuses, from 3 to 5 to 10, 20. But for now, 3 times each with other attention is what we want. So, you inhale gently through the nose, gently, gently. And as you inhale, mind you now, your eyes will be closed when you actually do this. You observe the air coming through your nostrils and how it's a little cool and your nostrils flare. They expand slightly. You breathe in. When you exhale, you feel the air is a little warm and your nostrils contract. You observe this with utter concentration. It's the most fascinating thing in the universe. In fact, this is why you exist. This is the mind that you have when you do this practice. That the reason you exist is to observe the air coming through your nose, going out your nose. In fact, this is the reason that existence exists. Only so that you could observe that. This is the kind of focus you have to have. Don't worry if it's not that intense now, but this is how you direct your mind fully. Nothing else in the universe exists, but you're observing the air coming in, your nostrils flare, the air's a little cool. The air going out, nostrils contract, air's a little warm. 3 times. Then you observe the air as it comes into the back of your throat. There's a little activity there. And you feel when you breathe in, you feel a little activity. When you breathe out, activity, a little movement there as the air brushes against it when it comes in and goes out. You do this with utterly rapt attention. Otherwise, you're cheating yourself. What's the point in that? At least 3 times. Immediately after, you observe the air as it goes down your throat. And again as it comes up your throat. Without judgment, without trying to assess anything, you merely observe with utter focus. Nothing else exists. You do that 3 times. Then, the chest. By now, you will find your breath has lengthened and slowed all by itself. It's a power building all by itself, merely because you direct with this kind of concentrated attention. So now when you breathe into your chest, you feel your lungs, you feel joints cracking, muscles, tendons, ligaments, fascia moving that you did not even know you had. Okay? And you exhale slowly, no strain. Do not hurry the process. You are so worth the time, the effort that you give to this, to yourself. Do not rush the process. Do that 3 times fully. Then lastly, go to your belly. Feel your belly expand as you breathe in. Contract as you breathe out. My partners, I should have said that you have to make sure your waistband is not constricting your breathing. You have a belt or waistband, whatever it is, you have to open it so that when you breathe in through your belly and it expands, it can expand fully without any kind of obstruction at all. Then, of course, you contract your belly just naturally, no strain, when you exhale. And you observe the air coming in, ballooning your belly, and going out when your belly contracts. At least 3 times. It is very likely that you'll find this to be such a gorgeous experience, you won't want to just do 3 times in each place. In any case, 3 times is the minimum. And you see what you see. I defy you to not feel a sense of peace and power when you do this. The more you do this, the more unified you become as a being. Mind, body, spirit. And this is what we must be. We must be very concentrated in ourselves so we could be very concentrated in our actions. Okay, so let us call that unity breath. Powerful gift. We talk about external unity training or organizing tools as we go down the road. This, of course, is internal, but it's, of course, fundamental because it has to do with us, the thing, the being, the instrument we bring to the effort. Thank you very much for your time. I love you so much. It is impossible for us to fail. I remind you also that OWN, the African Unity Movement, is coming. The African Unity Movement is coming, and together we will change the world. And Kunala, we are one.